The Earth Temple is Skyward Sword's second dungeon, and if Skyview, the game's first temple, is lacking character and feeling, the Earth Temple is its exact opposite. It's not only bright on account of the lava that flows throughout it, it's ornate, interesting, and completely unique to not only Skyward Sword, but the entire series. It's a very clever dungeon that sees new mechanics come into play for the first time within a 3D Zelda game, but like all locations and species in this game, it hides something. From the moment you set foot into the halls of the Earth Temple, you're met with not just smouldering heat, but fascinating architecture and fallen statues. You're never told the meaning behind any of the design of what the dungeon is, just that the temple is the next location where Zelda could possibly be after she got swallowed by a tornado in Skyloft, which of course led to Impa finding her and leading her on her journey. We find out nothing as we venture through about what this place is or was, or how it came to be. So that today is what we're going to hope to uncover as we explore the Earth Temple. Let's get started with the very basics, first try and get an idea and a better understanding of where we are. The Earth Temple is located at the top of Eldin volcano, hidden behind a locked mechanism that you must find 5 parts of a shattered key to access. As we first enter, you're met with 4 small statues of what appear to be elephants, spouting fire from their trunks. Elephants, interestingly, aren't revisited throughout the dungeon, which is odd because when we normally look at the religions explored so far within the game, it begins to make sense as to why these may have been included in the design of the dungeon itself. Looking at both Shintoism and Buddhism, the 2 main religions celebrated within Japan, the elephant is generally seen as a sign of wisdom and memory. The Shinto faith expands on this further though, with the elephant being revered as a symbol of good luck, and that it's seen as a remover of obstacles and a destroyer of evil. This feels right at home in the temple dedicated to the earth. Moving through the temple, the old traditionalist statues are met with more modern contraptions including gears held in place with rope that must be cut to release a gateway. I feel as if these were added later, as in whomever worshipped at the Earth Temple did so prior to these switches, levers and pulleys actually being added to the dungeon, as they don't particularly fit the architecture or the theme, and actually look like something more out of the Lanayru province than this particular building. Interestingly though, the first one of these gates that you find has a very interesting design. It seems to feature a mask over a main portcullis, which the design of, by the way, seems to resemble a spine of sorts. It almost creates a relatively human, albeit robotic or demonic, aesthetic, including 2 incredibly short arms made from some of the gears used to lower the gate on the other side. The markings on this are also unlike anything we've ever seen before in the series. A simple gold motif with a blue inlay, adorned with a simple swirl that seems to resemble wind as an element a lot more than it does fire. However, it doesn't actually match the usual symbol for wind that has been used throughout the series. A series of 4 curved overlapping lines that meet like an image of a fan blade. This particular symbol was used in the Forest Temple in Ocarina of Time, in almost every room, and it was left from the remnants of what was named as the Wind Temple during development. But this symbol is completely different, and seems to have no relevance to anything else in the series whatsoever. This gate stands out so much already from the rest of the temple. However, taking a look at it, everything else is fire themed, with flames being depicted on red archways. But this takes a blue swirl, not too dissimilar from the idea of whirlpools inside of water. The area above the gate itself though is the most interesting. A large, intimidating pair of eyes stare out at you as the gate lowers. A nose overhangs the top of the bridge. A gold helmet inscribed with stones at the top and a triangular motif in the forehead. This picture is very odd indeed, but suddenly what my feeling on this temple was and what it was for, to worship Eldin, got thrown into question the moment I saw this. So, who built this odd structure? And why is it here? As we progress over the bridge and kill the Lizalfos, we are met with an even odder sight. Floating in the lava lake that fills this temple is what is undeniably a giant face. We can see a large eye, which will release later on from its socket to ride around on, hypnotic and entrancing. A large flaring nostril, and a large mouth with an upturned bottom lip, with large tusks that come from the top and bottom of the mouth. To the left of the eye as we look at it, or perhaps above the eye if the face was the correct orientation, is a spot filled with a bomb. This bomb is set into what appears to be a round clavicle, with a small piece coming from the bottom and 5 dots across the top. This is incredibly familiar. It looks like the Lens of Truth from the N64 titles. This area is not supposed to show another eye, but rather a third eye. Something designed to help see the unseen, as it were. The face itself is also very familiar, but not from the Zelda world. This is one of those things that Nintendo and the team behind the Zelda games do so well, real-world inference from scenery, and this struck me almost immediately on seeing it as an Oni mask from the Japanese culture. The Oni are believed to be demons. They are often portrayed as great hulking figures with one or more horns growing from their heads. We can see that potentially this has been broken off of the statue at the very top, as there seems to be evidence of something having been broken from the top of the mask. They are generally creatures that instill fear and feelings of danger, and are thought of as a great evil. Within Taoism, a belief that there must be a balance in the world, demons pass through the Kimen, a demon gate as such. The Kimen is thought to be in the northeastern direction upon a compass, as this area falls between the cardinal orientations for bull and tiger on a feng shui spiral. As a result, houses in Japan are often built with a lack of windows or doors pointing towards the northeast, so that demons cannot enter. It's interesting that within the first few seconds of this dungeon, we open a gate and are met with an Oni almost immediately, but this one is fallen, engulfed in the flames of the Earth Temple. Progressing further into the dungeon, we see more ornate doors, flanked on either side by ruby-adorned lizard heads that are met with yet again a spiral pattern on the neck, which meets the floor. As we enter into this chamber, we see why we are met with these two fixed heads, as two Lizalfos wait for us to make our entrance, although this room in particular is very odd. Faces adorn all of the 4 cardinal directions in this room. The faces are almost maniacal, with 2 large piercing eyes just like those that you rolled on the lava atop of. A large grinning mouth stares out at you with its fangs, but they're only to the right hand side of the opening of the mouth, and atop of all of that, a large golden crown, or at least so it seems, with 2 large ears. They look almost primate-like, which suits the ideas of these statues representing a possible Oni. The Sarugami is thought to be an example of a fallen god, and because of belief in them by the general populace waning, the spirits that were revered as gods have been forgotten, and so their forms degenerated. These degenerate spirits are named yokai, and often only are thought of as being a kind of yokai, demon or troll. Monkeys were in fact viewed as servants of the mountain deities, or even possibly the deity themselves, and they were thought to be intermediaries between the world that we inhabit and the heavens. Even the 3 wise monkeys, a set of statues that has become popular in houses all over the world, came from Kushin, Japan originally, and were originally made to keep the demons out by expelling the idea of ever talking, seeing or hearing evil. These crazed monkey statues are interesting, as monkeys are something that has been seen a lot within the Zelda games. Within both A Link to the Past and Majora's Mask, monkeys aid you to help access the first dungeon within each respective game, and are often seen to help despite their cheekiness. But in this dungeon, the demonic images of monkeys or apes are more disturbing than anything, and definitely give off more of an evil feel rather than being helpful. Continuing to climb up the dungeon, we find staircases laden with banisters that seem to show a motif of a sun, with a big blue stone in the middle of them and 8 spokes, as it were, coming off the centre of a waved design. These look a lot like effigies to the sun, and it's not a surprise, given that the temple is based around fire and heat. Before this though, we must roll our way through some narrow lava rivers which are flanked by small dragon heads on each side. They spew out fire, and attempt to make life a lot harder for you to successfully roll your way through the caverns, but these are nothing in comparison to the head that greets you just prior to the boss room. A giant dragon looms over you. Its eyes are almost manic. The mane is pointed out rather than flowing like we see on other dragons within this game, and is accented with nothing but red and black. This monster is exactly that, It's a monster and evil to the core. It actually resembles an evil clown, dark and twisted with a bright red grin. As we arrive in the boss room, we are once again met with Girahim, this time stood upon the head of, yeah, you guessed it, a dragon. This one wraps its way around the room, and you actually fight the boss of the dungeon, Skyward, while running up and down what appears to be the soft belly of the dragon. The sides of this room are also laden with the images of the Sirogami, those demons working in tandem, so it seemed at least with the dragon. So now that we've taken a look at the design of the dungeon and its possible links to real life, let's have a bit of fun. Let's try to fill in the gaps here as to what happened deep in the volcano at Eldin. Many years before Skyward soared, the earth inside of Eldin volcano ran dry. The lava we have come to know now was bubbling underground, but had not yet worked its way up to the surface. The volcano was dormant, and although people were warned of its potential to one day explode, no one had ever even heard of a time that it had erupted, and so its paths were deemed safe for people to meander. The people built here structures and encampments, but none were as impressive as the Earth Temple. It was ironic in reality that this place, while so high above the ground, would be named as such, but it was decreed that they would worship the earth below in order to not risk an eruption, and so worship they would. They would build statues and effigies of creatures that would show the wisdom of the earth, the ability to ward off evil, and keep them at peace. They would adorn the outside and inside with banners of blue and gold, and show their devotion for the deities of the land. And it would be here that they would spend any time that they weren't spending on building and foraging to worship and prayer. With the years of prayer came years of peace, and the people's customs seemed not to be in vain. At least that was, until rumbling began under the ground of the Earth Temple grounds. Earthquakes were relatively commonplace, after all they were atop a volcano, but this was different in that the magnitude was so much greater than the usual smaller rumbles that they had gotten used to. The tremors would go on for minutes usually, but would be relatively frequent as more time went on, but still the settlement was peaceful. Hyrule on the whole had not known war or battle in centuries. It was a golden time of prosperity, and it was only because the plains were now filled with encampments that this group felt the need to migrate to the northeast of Hyrule. But that was their biggest downfall. They had been warned by many who they met upon their migration to not go. The aura was wrong, evil filled the air, something sinister was there, and that was why no one had built there. But this group were not superstitious. Or perhaps they just weren't willing to listen to any others. They had made up their mind. This would be their home, uninterrupted by the masses. It was perfect for them, and they would be able to continue their worship of the lands as they saw fit. What they hadn't accounted for, though, was the damage digging down into the mountain would do. They had worked out that potentially they had a limit they could go to, and they wouldn't go past that for fear of another lava spring shooting its way out of the ground again. Luckily, they had managed to contain that, dumping a cart with a large boulder directly on top of it after rolling it from a distance. It had been more luck than judgment, but that didn't matter, as it kept them all safe. They would not mine too deep again so as to not anger the volcano, yet it seemed like something had awoken inside of it, and it was pounding at the ceiling wanting to escape. Little did they know that this was actually the case. See, in this volcano lives an entity that was so feared in Hyrule within legends and myths, and it was said that the volcano would glow red when it was angered. And when that was the case, all of Hyrule was in danger of being set ablaze. But that was just it. The subterranean lava dragon was a myth. No one had ever sighted Volvagia, and no one was ever likely to. After all, he didn't exist. The ground began to shake again. Children lost their footing. Even some grown men ended up rolling on the floor. Many others had managed to hide under something to keep them stable, but this was all too much to bear. It was getting more and more frequent now, like a god had awoken enraged from its slumber. For weeks more this would continue. The buildings they had erected were starting to crumble, adding hundreds of years onto their age within just a month or so. One of the settlers, a male in his early 20s, walks around the so-called city. He spots something that catches his eye. He walks towards it skeptically and cautiously, almost tiptoeing so that he isn't heard. But it's not getting caught that he's concerned about. Rather, he's more concerned that something bad may happen when he approaches it. He bends down, taking one knee to the stone floor, as he reaches forward, a crack. This one wasn't here before, he thinks to himself, at least not one that he had remembered. And this wasn't the only one, however. Small cracks had begun to appear in multiple locations across the settlement. They weren't big at all, but if the ground was ready to give way here, then it would be only a matter of time before the lava beneath would consume them all. They would need to act, or find somewhere else to live. Perhaps all that talk about the Kimon was real after all, and not just some religious psychobabble. They, as a collective, would need to take the decision to take as many of their belongings and their families and leave this place before it would consume them. But unfortunately, the decision came far too late. Whilst packing their belongings, roars could be heard under the ground below them. The most common thought, though, that this was just rocks tumbling, but the roars were so loud and intense that it could be confused for a vicious beast. It was just the earth shaking, they told themselves, as if convincing themselves that one terribly horrendous event would offset the other in terms of intensity, and survival was an option either way. In case you're wondering, it wasn't. Puddles opened up on the floor around the cracks. Oh, a puddle would be a nice way of putting it. In fact, it was a molten pool of lava. It finally happened. It had worked its way up from deep underground, and now would be the day to take heed of all the advice given to begin with and leave this demonic place. But what would come next, though, no one would see coming. A large chunk of the floor gave way entirely. Homes, belongings, and even people were swallowed whole into the abyss below, before a giant clawed talon gripped a hold of the rock to its left. Another forced its way out also, lava erupting around it as it threw its mane around its head, popping itself up and out of the chasm below. Within seconds it was airborne. A huge serpentine creature with 4 appendages, 2 hind legs and 2 front legs or arms as it were, each with 4 huge obsidian claws. It shone with a ruby-like quality as it circled around the remainder of the encampment. It was too beautiful to look away from, but too dangerous to stay around. It finally opened its mouth and let out a horrendously loud roar, the same as what they'd been hearing down below, but it was no longer muffled by layers of rock and dirt. It was near deafening, and any child left standing was instantly brought to tears at the sound of it. It bellowed through the caverns before a lick of flame erupted from its great maw. They tried to run, but it was all in vain as rocks the size of boulders fell from the sky as the vast dragon crashed into the ceiling above. The flames filled the caverns, filling every area with searing hot embers. This, unfortunately, was the end of the settlement that dwelled within the volcano. But this is not the end of this story. See, in Hyrule, evil only reigned supreme for so long, and the guardian of the volcano would soon rouse from its slumber. He had laid as dormant as the volcano for years, but now a red ring formed above Death Mountain. His time was calling. He was required on this planet once again. And so 2 large, majestic eyes opened, like 2 clams guarding the most beautiful pearls the world had ever seen. He let out a short yawn before the flames ignited on both the top of his head and his mustache, which protruded far from his face. Volvagia, he roared, slowly, before taking to the skies from his resting place. The rock continued to pummel the inside of the caverns as the dragon inside continued to crash against the top of the volcano. When it finally gave way, the spurts of magma spilled down and out from the side of the mountain range, threatening to burn everything below. With one final burst, he would crash through the ceiling and into the skies above to meet his adversary, Eldin. The 2 would clash in the skies above Hyrule, spitting fire at each other and clawing at one another when they got close. It went on like this for days, the land underneath facing scorches like no one had ever seen before, the power from the 2 legendary dragons of folklore spilling out onto the life below. Finally though, a breakthrough came, as Volvagia changed his game plan. He would lure Eldin back into the volcano, and he would crush the old fool with the ceiling above him. So he flew at a breakneck speed across the skies and into the red mist above the volcano. Eldin of course would follow, exactly as planned. Volvagia would dive down into the volcano, but Eldin was not that much of an amateur to not smell a trap. So he would sit, perched at the top of the volcano, and he would wait, slamming his claws into the rock he would be perched on in order to catch the attention of the demon dragon. Patience was something that Eldin had learned in his time as the guardian of the volcano. He would need to exercise this and not be hot-headed. After all, that's how fires start. And he, as well as the other dragons, had promised the goddess that they would preserve peace in these lands for generations to come. That was why this menace needed to be stopped. Before more life had been lost, he would need to cleanse the world of this demon. Roaring could be heard down below, designed to taunt Eldin into leaving his position. For every roar that left Volvagia's throat, though, Eldin pushed more dirt and rock into the hole. Finally, Volvagia had enough of messing around. He flew upwards, launching himself back through the mouth of the volcano where Eldin waited for him. With a pounce, the two tumbled through the hole and into the lava below, where Eldin would proceed to wrap his arms and tail around the menace of the skies. He would bite and tear at the armor plating on his foe, and due to the sharpness of his fangs, it would pierce and inflict great pain on Volvagia. They had continued to fall further and further back into the void that the dragon had originally surfaced from. Volvagia was hurt, too hurt to move, as Eldin released his adversary from his grip and allowed the demonic dragon to fall to the floor below, before flying back upwards at a speed that was unlike anything Eldin had ever reached. Joking to himself, he thought he would use his head for once, unlike any other time before slamming himself into the remainder of the ceiling below, causing it to crash down and bury Volvagia under the ground. Having bore witness to the battle, and only one dragon emerging, the people of Hyrule, especially around the Eldin province, would revere the dragon who won and saved them all from certain doom. He'd returned the skies to normal, the volatility of the volcano stopped by the burial of the creature that would one day be revived as a curse to the world caused by an evil even greater than he. They would enter into the temple that was once built to worship the earth and erect further monuments. These monuments depicted the burial of Volvagia by Eldin. They were arranged highly in the likeness of the serpentine god of fire, and despite the heat caused by the fire and lava that remained due to the subterranean lava dragon that had plagued their lands, they would continue to worship. Their worship, however, would not be towards the earth that had gifted them the mountains, but rather to the dragon that had rescued their province in its time of need, Eldin. I hope you've enjoyed the theory for today. I absolutely love doing this style, narrating a story based on events that we've either been told about or can infer from the surroundings in the game. And I think this one would be super cool to see something about within the games or a spin-off. Now, I know that won't ever happen. And in all truth, it being kept to the imagination of the fans of the series is a lot of what makes the Zelda series so special. But what do you guys think though? What are your thoughts on what the Earth Temple was meant to be? Drop a comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you've enjoyed what you've seen so far. Okay, so that's the theory done with, for today at least. I hope you enjoyed that. I really enjoyed putting it together. Thank you so much for listening. Just going to commentate my way through the last part of this dungeon now, purely because of the fact that we are pretty much done, and I really don't want to start a new episode when we're so close to completing this dungeon, and we've done so well to get here. So I think it's well worth carrying on. Just going to dig for a minute. Nothing in that one. Dig. Oh, air current. Sweet. So I'm going to guide you through the last few puzzles in this dungeon. This one in particular is pretty good. I like this one. So just going to survey the scene. There's a bombable wall there. There's a ramp. I'm going to presume that when you go up the ramp, a load of boulders launch at you, similar to what we had before. But I'm just going to do a double check just to make sure in case I'm missing a point here. And then, yeah, we'll guide you through the last boss as well and do the little cutscene afterwards. Yep, boulders. Danger. High voltage. And then that should leave us in a really, really good position for the next episode. So, we now need to get good with aim. So, let me throw it like this to begin with and see what happens. It rolls. Okay, the velocity is quite high, so it needs to be done from much higher up. Oh, controls are letting me down a little. We'll try around here. What do we think? Is that good? It's just too far. Okay. Try once more. Do that. Oh, it's hit the crack in the floor. Oh, that's good. You got stored as well. Perfect. Yeah, so sometimes the controls fail me on the Switch a little. I'm not going to lie, and this is why the weapon wheel and item wheels keep getting brought up every now and again when they shouldn't do. Basically, because this game was originally made for the Wii, it doesn't quite translate as a port absolutely perfectly. And some of the controls are a little bit janky. They're not the best. So every now and again, it just takes me a little while to remember effectively where they've assigned things like the weapon wheel or the item wheel to. Obviously, oh god, that was silly. Obviously, having the two different wheels as well, because they were assigned effectively to two different hands before. Why only one boulder for? Are the rest of them stuck? Let's go. But yeah, because they're all now sort of assigned to very similar locations, it can just be a little bit difficult to remember what button produces what item, basically. Won't save it just yet. We'll head on. I think we've got to go this way. Yeah. It's a big, scary dragon who seems to be fighting another dragon. Coincidence? Methinks not. I actually genuinely believe that that is what the whole purpose of this temple is. Despite the fact that I went into big sort of lengths with a big story throughout this, I personally feel like the idea of it being two dragons fighting each other just makes so much sense. Okay, it did not require a bomb. It just requires me to run to do the Indiana Jones. And just like that, the door is revealed to the boss chamber. Goodness for that. Yeah. 100%, you know, this is two dragons at some form of war with one another. Okay. I really love the way the keys work in this game, the whole rotating it into the slot, and it was so frustrating on the Wii. I remember, because you have to literally like almost like twist your arm completely, and it's so annoying. But this is a really nice little puzzle on the Switch. There we go. We are ready. We ready to go face some giant rock spider butt and go kick butt at the same time? That didn't come out right. Are we ready to go kick some giant rock spider butt? That's the one that I wanted to to say. Oh, so atmospheric, so pretty. Weirdly, the Girahim section in this area is one of the only unskippable cutscenes. I don't understand why. It's not like it's massively important either. But definitely gonna need bombs for this boss. Oh, too many. Put it down. Run! We're creating an explosive chain. Zelda's aura's in the area. There's a chain on the floor. Yada yada yada. We get it, Fee. Let's go. I do skip through Fee sections quite quickly. I think she just irritates me. She's my least favourite companion, I think. Oh, it's you. Let me see. No, that's not it. This is very embarrassing. I seem to be at a loss for your name. Not that it matters, really. I heard my underlings have finally captured the Spirit Maiden. That goddess-serving dog escaped with the girl. I must have the Spirit Maiden in order to resurrect my master. I must have her. I got a little carried away there, didn't I? Still, some good can come from this day. There's someone special I'd like you to meet. Oh, don't be shy. It won't take more than a few minutes with my friend before you're charred to a satisfying crisp. Ah, your friend is a giant rock. You know, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that Girahim has a pet rock. Did any of you guys ever have, like, do that when you were little? I don't know, like, is that a normal thing to have done? Paint a face on a rock and claim it's a pet? What TV show did that? I remember Ed, Edd and Eddy did Plank, but... Oh, hang on, we have music. We have backing music. What the hell happened? It's fixed! Praise the Lord! Or whatever it is we have to praise. We have music! The giant rock monster of death obviously is what caused our music to return. Scaldera has fixed our audio problems. He shall be revered as a lord and a god forever. Right after I fed him some lovely, lovely, yummy explosives. I like this boss. It's fun in a goofy, fun, strange kind of way. So there are a lot of Zelda bosses that have this particular mechanic, the swallowing of bombs. Probably the most notable is King Dodongo in Ocarina of Time. And it's a super fun mechanic that basically sees that you have to roll a bomb into a swirling stream of air that the boss is inhaling. And as a result, they go kaboom. I like this one because it feels a little bit like a tug of war as well. I always kind of felt though, I missed, damn it. What am I doing? I always kind of felt, right, I've got to be careful now. Ah, oh, damn it. Okay. Not good. Let's try again. We can do this, 100% we can do this. Yeah, I always kind of felt like they should make this a mechanic where Scaldera gets launched off the end of the ramp. I thought that would be really cool, but apparently not. It's like made for it. Or like you could have like some kind of structure where you had enough of the tracks to make almost like a semi-pinball machine or something. It would have been just really cool to see this boss implemented in a slightly different way. Can't believe we have to come back up here again. We gather the bombs again. I need to do an inventory check as well. I need to see what we actually have to help us fight this because... Oh my god, I had a potion all along. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I had a potion. Scaldera Part 2. I can't believe I had a potion all along. That's really irritating me. And I'm already down to half health. This is not good. So we use a bomb first of all to knock him down. And then he inhales. And we use another bomb. And go kaboom. And I go kaboom. Boom, boom, boom. That's a good couple of hits. I think that equated to 4, because I think a Skyward Strike is worth 2, I believe. I'll keep an eye on bombs as well. Luckily they leave a nice supply of them at the top of the ramp. There. Just aim at the land bomb. A few hits in there. Oh wow, it's into phase 2 already. So phase 2 is the walking spider phase, where he'll basically walk about halfway up the ramp and then throw himself down in a hissy fit. He does a lot of damage when he does that, but if he hits you, it's painful. That was real good. He doesn't have much left. We're going to finish the Earth Temple. Ow! We've got a potion. Let's use that. And we have 3 bombs left, so after whatever sequence is, 2 bombs left. So after whatever it is we do now, we have to make the decision to go back up to the top of the ramp and... Oh, that doesn't work. I was 100% that will knock him down. Okay, so after this series of hits, we are... Oh, and this was Skyward. Oh my god. Okay. He really doesn't have much left. But we're going to have to brave this bit now. This is where this becomes like ultra dangerous because he's going to do that. And stop us from getting to the bombs, which is super annoying. We have to be careful when we get to the top as well, because he's going to shoot fireballs, and these fireballs again do enough damage. There they are. Luckily, he started firing them a little too late, I think. Just grab a load of refills. I want to have a full bag. There we go. Sweet! We'll wait out these fireballs. There's no way I'm going to go join the fight like that. Wait for him. That's perfect because he's sort of damaged himself. It's not enough though, I don't think. He will go right the way to the bottom. I just don't know whether or not I can make it down there in time for that. I made it down there. Awesome. Boom. Okay. I missed again. Yes! The eye was moving around so quickly. I guess it must be moving around that quickly because of how close to like death he was. I don't know. I don't know whether that impacts things or not. I imagine it has to, right? Like, the difficulty of the game's not the difficulty of the boss scales with the how many hits he's got left. Kind of makes sense. And atop the dead dragon arises a heart, which I shall devour. Link, I'm convinced at this point, is a vampire. He devours hearts and probably blood, and likes to go for dips in lava. Blatantly a vampire. I think. Vampires like lava? I don't think they do. Not considering they burst into flames when they die. That's probably not correct. Can lava kill a vampire? Strange questions I have to ask. Okay. Where on earth is the door? Do I have to do like one more puzzle? No. Really not. I'll just sacrifice a bomb to the Elder Dragons and we shall leave because they gave us our music back. I'm so happy about that. I can't believe that. I think it's been what, 3-4 episodes since we last had music. So just to have the backing track back is a massive deal. This means the next episode is going to be great because we're actually going to have music. Talking of music, these little areas are so pretty with the music. I love it. It's so cute. I love almost any interaction that Link and Zelda have together in this game is amazing. I absolutely love it. Just, it's so cute. It's like a love story that between two people that are never meant to be. I'm a big softie, really. Mikhail! You cannot go to him, Your Grace. Remember what we had discussed. Restrain yourself. Oh, Wimba. She's so sad. I have to go. I'm sorry, Mikhail. She's so sad. I can't believe we were so close yet so far. No. It took you far too long to get here. Looking at you, I fear the goddess has mistaken in her choice of agents. If this failure is any indication, you have no hope of defeating Gilly. Do my words sting? Let them. If I had not come when I did, your Zelda would have died, I guess. In truth of it, you are late. Too late. I sent Zelda ahead to learn more of the fate in which she has in store for her. Only when you conquer the trials will you be more use of Zelda. Do you understand? She's so stern. She's so stern. Oh. And that is it. We have finished the Earth Temple with a disappearing Impa and Zelda. we may now move on. I am so excited for the next few episodes, because they are going to be going through one of my favourite areas in the game. Lanayru is such a fun area. It's so different. It's probably one of the best areas in the game. So, for sure, I can't wait. And we're going to have the music as well. It's going to be so good. Wow. So I think next episode is going to be all about... I think we'll actually do a couple of little mop-up things as well before we go to the Lanayru. So next episode we're going to focus on that, and then from there onwards we will go to Lanayru, and I love Fee's dancing. I think she's meant to be singing at this point. I think. Singing and ice skating. And there it is, the tablet. So this tablet we're going to go return. We'll do that at the start of the next episode, and then I think we'll go mop up a load of other little bits and bobs. And then after that episode we're going to go smash out the Lanayru and the mining facility, because they are some absolutely amazing areas. Oh. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you like what you've seen, please like the video, subscribe. I really do appreciate it, and it helps out massively. Thank you very much. Bye bye.